Hi everyone, I'm Sam, an English teacher. Today I'm going to tell you about the time I ran a half marathon in Madrid. The race didn't go as I planned, but I was very happy at the end. Usually, when I speak to students, I try to slow down my speech or maybe use some simple words, but in this video, I'm going to speak as naturally as I normally would, and your challenge is to try and understand everything. If you understand about 80–90%, then you can say that your English is excellent. But if you find this a little bit difficult, then you can go in the description and you will find a link to my free English community. And in there, you will be able to access a transcript for this video and all my YouTube videos. And then you can follow along with the writing, and it might make it a little bit more easy for you. Okay, on with the story. In December 2018, I moved to Madrid to learn how to be an English teacher, and I started teaching English then as well. And I was really into running at that time, and it was quite nice running in Spain actually because the weather was quite nice all year round. So in the UK, when you're running, it's nice in the spring and the summer, but it does rain a lot in the spring as well. But the winter is just a bad month for running because it's very dark, it's very cold, and it's very wet and damp. So pretty slippy outside. It can be pretty dangerous. I remember about 2 years ago, I was out on a run in Manchester where I live, and I slipped quite heavily on this slab of concrete, and I completely fell over and I knocked my head on a metal like bar. It was kind of like a fence type thing, a barrier maybe, and I hit my head and I actually concussed myself pretty badly, and I had a huge gash down my shin and I was bleeding. I was very confused, and yeah, I knocked myself out for a few seconds. After I came back around, I did like stand up and think, should I go home, because I was like 2 minute walk away from my house. But I was thinking, am I just being a wimp? Should I continue? But I did have concussion, so it was actually pretty wise of me to go home and rest and not try to continue running. But I didn't have any antiseptic and I didn't want to go to the doctors, so I just poured some vodka over my leg to try and clean the wound like I was in the war. I did feel quite hard then. But back to Spain, I really enjoyed running in Spain, and I'd done lots of 5K races. And in the UK, we have this thing called Park Run, where in lots of local parks around the country, every Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, there is a community event where there is a 5 kilometer race. Some people take it seriously and run as fast as they can, and they're very quick. And some people just do it for fun, and some people even walk. So you can take it as seriously as you want to. Some people find it fun, some people find it competitive. You can make what you want of it. So even though I'd done lots of those 5Ks and I'd run maybe 10 kilometers or so in the past, while I was in Spain, I realized there was a half marathon in April, and I signed up for it. I found a 14-week training plan where I was running multiple times a week. I was also going to the gym at that time as well. So there was a lot of exercise in my week, and I had a long time to prepare. Some people, they book a marathon or a half marathon and they're like, oh, it's starting in a few weeks, and they don't have too much time to train. But that wasn't the case with me. I actually had too much time. It was really far out. With these training plans, usually you kind of build up slowly. So every Sunday you do like a long run, and as the weeks go by, the long run gets longer and longer and longer until you get very close to that half marathon distance or that marathon distance. I was pretty consistent with the training plan, and I think I stuck to it maybe like 60 to 70%. A half marathon isn't too long. So if you have like good enough fitness and you feel like you can run almost a half marathon already, then you don't need to take the training as seriously as maybe a marathon. But I think I was generally running 3 or 4 times a week, and I was going on some longer runs. In Madrid, there is a beautiful park called Retiro Park, and I remember I ran around that quite a lot. I'd often listen to audiobooks because some of the longer runs were quite boring. I usually don't like listening to music or podcasts or audiobooks when I'm running. I prefer to be with my thoughts. But yes, for those longer runs, it was getting a little bit boring, so I did start read. I was listening to a audiobook called The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Really good book actually, and I really recommend it. The half marathon was in April, and my parents and my sister and her boyfriend came over to Madrid to watch me and support me. That was really nice of them. So I met up with them like the day before. We went for some food the night before, and then I had some pasta because I wanted something with lots of carbohydrates in. I don't think I drank any beers or wine that night. I saved that for the day after. And the fun thing about this half marathon was it was like the rock and roll marathon. So at different stages along the race, there was like some music stages and there were bands performing rock and roll music. And there was some really loud speakers blasting out rock and roll music. And it was like early in the morning. So if you lived in those near those stages, you'd probably be pretty peed off considering it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully those people didn't go out the night before. So a half marathon is 13.1 miles or 21 kilometers, and I wanted to do the race in about 1 hour 50. In races like this, or maybe a 10K, a half marathon, marathon, there are often paces. So you can see what pace they're running at. And instead of you trying to think about, oh, am I running at the pace that I want to, then you can just follow them because they are the official paces. Before the race, I got some advice off a family friend, and he told me that don't go too quick at the start. Save a bit of energy. You don't want to burn yourself out in the first 20% or even the first 50% because then you've got a difficult end to the race. So I went purposefully slow in the first kilometers, and I was running probably a little bit too slow. Even though I was aiming for the 1 hour 50 mark, I was actually standing behind the 2 hour paces. And the paces had like a huge balloon like above them, and it said 2 hours on them. And I was, a few meters behind. I was about 100 meters behind the 2 hour pacer. And when I got a bit further into the race, about 3/4 or 2/3 of the way through, I can't remember the specifics now, it was a few years ago. I remember I thought, okay, I need to go a little bit faster now because I want to get to the next balloon, which was in front of me. I don't have the best vision. Sometimes I wear glasses. It's not too bad. I don't wear glasses if I go to the gym or maybe if I go running or if I play football or something. But if I watch TV, then I usually do wear them, or if I'm working or go to the cinema. So at that time, my vision wasn't perfect. I could see the next balloon that was ahead of me. And I thought, okay, so if this is the 2 hour pacing balloon, then the next one must be the 150 one. So I overtook the 2 hour one, got closer to the next balloon, thinking this is going to be the 150 one, and it turned out it was another 2 hour one. And I was like, okay, how are these two balloons the 2 hour one when they're actually so far apart? So I thought, oh dear, I really need to get a pace on. So I overtook the next balloon and I thought, okay, I can see the next balloon. That must be the 1 hour 51. Turned out that was another 2 hour balloon. So I had overtaken three 2 hour balloons, and they weren't all close to each other. They were hundreds of meters away from apart from each other. So it was pretty confusing for me, and I realized that I was actually quite far behind my pace time. So I really got a wiggle on, and I really put the burners on, as people say. As some people say in England. So I really increased my speed and started running a lot quicker. And in the last 5K, I realized I needed to run pretty fast to get the 1 hour 50. Luckily, along the way, there were people giving out water, they were giving out little pieces of banana and also some energy gels as well, which you could like squeeze into your mouth. And they were really helpful for regaining some of that energy. And in the last 5 kilometers, I really went for it. I really ran as fast as I could, and I didn't leave anything in the tank in those last 5 kilometers. And I actually ran the last five in like 21 minutes, which is pretty fast. And I can't even do that now if I'm just running 5K, let alone all the other kilometers before that. I can run a 5K in about 22 minutes now. So I was really going fast then, especially considering I'd just run 16K before that. But I did get my goal time. I did it in 1 hour 49. I was really happy and I was really tired at the end, but it was so worth it. The atmosphere at the race was so good. Spanish people are just great. They have so much enthusiasm and they're just such a great nation of people. And they were just thousands and thousands of people all along, chanting, singing, having fun. And the rock and roll stages were great as well because they gave you a little bit of a buzz when you were going past them. But that's my story of me running a half marathon. I haven't done one since. I do a lot of running still, but I still haven't run a half marathon since that one in Madrid. But I really enjoyed it and I'd love to do another one. Thank you for listening to this. And remember, if you understood most of that, then your English is excellent.